Meditation Tips, 7 questions answered. Welcome to you, wholesome people. Today it's all about 7 questions newbies are asking about meditation. And who's better than Andy Puddicombe, a former Buddhist monk and the co-founder of Headspace, to give you answers? So let's dive right in.
You can wear anything you like to meditate. The most important thing is that you're comfortable, if you're relaxed. If you're a man and you're wearing a tie, or if you're a woman wearing a scarf around your neck, I recommend just kind of loosening that off a little bit. If you're wearing a belt, maybe loosen that. If your trousers are a little bit too tight, maybe loosen those just so you can breathe more freely. If you're wearing high heels, I suggest you kind of slip those off. Or you could wear nothing at all. Whatever kind of feels more comfortable to you, it really doesn't matter. So, in fact, one monastery that I trained in, genuinely, one of the rules was that you weren't allowed to scratch. And it sounds crazy, but once you kind of look at it, it's actually a really useful way of understanding the mind. So actually using the itch as a way of understanding the mind. So instinctively in life, we experience something, and it's like, get rid of it. Or there's an itch, okay, scratch it. And so as long as we're in that mentality in life, we're very sort of reactive, something happens, okay, quickly, we need to do something about it. But instead, if we can kind of, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, what happens when I just watch it? Can I respond to it in a different way? And once you kind of start looking at it from a point of view of sort of curiosity, then something starts to change. And okay, we say it's a scratch. What is a scratch? Is it a sensation? And if it is it in one place, or does it keep moving around? What's creating that sensation of movement that we need to kind of stop? Is it a feeling of heat or coolness? Is it a sharp pain or is it dull? So once we start to kind of look at it, often what happens is that it starts to not necessarily disappear, but it's harder and harder to find, and all of a sudden it's gone. And we've done that simply by looking at it. We haven't made it go away, we're just witnessing it. Sometimes it won't go away, even when you do that, and it persists. So look, if it becomes such a problem that, it's just ruining things for you, then of course, scratch it, but do it mindfully, rather than simply doing it without thinking about it. Okay, you're conscious of it, you've examined it, you've looked at it, not with the intention of stopping it or making it go away, but simply out of interest to see what it is that you're witnessing. If it doesn't go away, then very slowly bring the hand across. Okay, scratch it, it's gone, you're conscious, you're bringing the hand back again, it's done, and you just continue on as though nothing else had happened. So just like that. I think we're all very different, I personally recommend that you meditate first thing in the morning, and I'll tell you why, some advantages to that. But it's also really important to recognize that we are all different, that we should be flexible. It works for some people, not for everyone, and there is nothing bad or worse about meditating later in the day, lunchtime or in the evening. There are just some very definite benefits to doing it first thing in the day. Number one, you get rid of any kind of grogginess from your sleep. So you really start the day feeling kind of calm and clear and fresh. So I think it's just a nice way to begin the day. Second one is, if we start the day in that way with our meditation, we are that much more likely to be mindful throughout the day. So it's almost like we punctuate the day with that really big kind of session of meditation. Then it's like we have all these little moments, because we set the mind up to be aware throughout the day. There was someone in the community who wrote in quite a while back saying his favorite thing about Headspace actually wasn't the meditation, it was the fact that when he meditated, he made better choices throughout the day. So he would when he started the day with meditation, he would go to the gym. He would be aware of what foods he was eating, so he'd make kind of better food choices. He was aware when he went into conversations with people, he was a little bit kind of kinder perhaps, or a bit more thoughtful in his interactions. So there's really something about that. If we can begin the day in that way, it really sets us up for the entire sort of day ahead. Posture is really, really important when it comes to sitting. I do think there's this, I don't know where it comes from, pictures, I guess, films, idea that we have to sit cross-legged on the floor. I recommend to everybody, unless you have grown up sitting cross-legged on the floor and you're very comfortable with that, or unless you've done a lot of yoga or gymnastics, I don't know, whatever it is that allows you to sit cross-legged on the floor comfortably for a long period of time, there's really no need to do that when you're meditating. In fact, you're already learning a new skill, so maybe it's actually simplest, just to sit on a chair. And I always recommend you do it legs and arms uncrossed. So you're sitting, so arms just resting in the legs. And as much as possible, not using the back of the chair. So it's quite tempting. So we're naturally to sort of lean against the back of the chair. If you can, move towards the front of the chair and you just sort of tilt the hips a little bit, so that the back sort of feels quite upright, the feet are flat on the floor, you feel very grounded. If you struggle with that, and I've definitely, if I sit on a chair, I get this a little bit and the back starts to kind of hunch over a bit. I find just a little cushion or a little towel underneath my backside just helps keep the hips in place. And then you don't have to put any effort into sitting upright. The back just naturally sits straight. So it's all about, if you can set it up in the right way, it really doesn't take any effort at all. You don't want to be sitting there thinking, okay, I must keep a straight back. And equally, you don't want to be sort of falling asleep and slouched over. So finding a chair which is upright, where you have a nice balance of, you relax, but you focus rather than being lying down on the sofa and falling asleep. It's quite important. And if you think the way we set the body up will very much influence the mind. So if the body, as I say, if the body's like lying down on a bed, well, the mind associates lying down, being horizontal, with sleep. And there's a pretty good chance that we'll drift towards sleep. Equally, if we're too upright, then the mind will be a bit uptight as well. So it's just finding that sweet spot where we feel sort of comfortable, relaxed, and yet focused at the same time. When we begin meditation, we all start in a different place. And sometimes we get it straight away. It might be within the first 5 minutes, like, oh, wow, well, this feels really nice. For another person, it might take a couple of days, another couple of weeks. I had someone write in the other day who said they just hit their 365-day run streak. And they tweeted to say that the penny didn't really drop until day, I think it was 352. And I love that, in the fact that meditation is just about turning up each day. It doesn't really matter kind of if we have a sense of what's changing and what's happening. Besides, apart from anything else, the mind that's judging is the same mind that's being judged. So it gets very complicated anyway when we're trying to kind of analyze this stuff. The important thing is just to turn up, to approach it in the right way each day, and it will naturally unfold in its own time. The interesting thing when we sit down to meditate, we might expect that the mind is immediately going to become sort of calm and clear. And what we very quickly realize is actually we simply see our thoughts a lot more clearly. And one of the most common emotions or thought patterns is one of anxiety. So it's becoming more and more common in society, I think, and so naturally people experience it more during their meditation. Of course, the feeling of anxiety for most of us, we don't like it. So there's a temptation to immediately sort of push it away, to somehow try and stop that flow of thought. But if we remember what meditation is all about, it's not trying to stop thoughts, it's not about changing the mind, it's about witnessing the mind in an entirely new way. So we don't have to do anything with the anxiety. The anxiety is not bad. The anxiety is just what it is. An anxious thought, an angry thought, a sad thought, a happy thought, they're just thoughts. And if we can allow them to kind of come and go, and not get too kind of caught up in them, then actually it feels quite free. So when we experience anxiety, as much as possible, rather than thinking about the anxiety, I think this is what happens more often than not. Anxiety arises and it's like, oh, I really don't like this anxiety. I wish I could feel different. And then we're just thinking about it. We're not meditating. So if we can actually be present with the feeling of it. So what does it feel like in the body? Does it have a particular area of the body where you feel it? Is it a particular quality? Is it like, like butterflies in the stomach? Does the chest feel a bit tight? Like, if we can rest in the feeling, the physical sensation, rather than thinking about anxiety, then actually it sort of short circuits that loop. So rather than kind of the body recognizing that the mind's anxious and then the mind recognizing that the body's anxious and getting caught up in that, instead we step out of it and we're present with the feeling, the physical feeling, the sensation in the body. And over time, then the mind kind of recognizes that, oh, it doesn't feel anxious anymore. And it starts to slow down that pattern of thought. So it's really important that we just kind of understand that anxiety is a natural kind of phenomena. It's part of being human. It's really important emotion. We need it in our mind. We couldn't live without anxiety. We need a certain kind of, in parts of our life, in certain aspects, we need that. But it's just not getting too caught up in it and not creating a storyline around it. Yeah, finding time to meditate, I think it's a problem for all of us, right? It's life is busy, we have lots of things to do, lots of commitments, lots of responsibilities. But bottom line, kind of finding 10 minutes in the day, there's an old kind of saying that if you can't find 10 minutes in the day to meditate, you probably need 20 minutes. You know, if our life is so kind of hectic that we can't even find 10 minutes in the day, like what value are we putting on our mind? So our mind that we depend upon for every single interaction in our life, no matter with ourselves, with other people, with the world around us. If we can't give 10 minutes to that, are we living a life that we're really kind of happy and content with? We might want to think about, okay, well, can I somehow create that 10 minutes? For me, it was kind of, should I get up a little bit earlier? So now with a baby in the house, I have no choice. If I want to meditate, I have to get up a little bit earlier. And people say, yeah, but I couldn't manage on any less sleep. But actually the quality of rest in the body and the mind that we get from meditation is really a lot more, especially in that later stage of sleep when we're kind of a bit dozy in the morning. It's far more effective. So much better to get up 15 minutes earlier and create that 10 minutes than not to do any meditation at all.
The popularity of meditation is increasing as more people discover its benefits. You can use it to increase awareness of yourself and your surroundings. Many people think of it as a way to reduce stress and develop concentration. People also use the practice to develop other beneficial habits or feelings, such as a positive mood and outlook, self-discipline, and healthy sleep patterns. If you're still on the fence about it, just give it a try, you've got nothing to lose. And if you'd like to have guided meditation videos on this channel or for any other suggestions, let us know in the comments using the hashtag AskWholesomeFacts. Don't forget to like to show your support, subscribe and hit the bell icon for weekly content, and share to spread the word. Meanwhile, be awesome, stay wholesome. See you next time!